In today's video, I'm gonna reveal the true secret it takes to getting your first deal in under 2 weeks in real estate wholesaling. In my 5+ years of wholesaling real estate experience, making millions of dollars being a 7-figure wholesaler, I found 3 truths it comes in wholesaling real estate, secrets and actionable steps you need to take in real estate wholesaling business to get your first deal. Something that's really crazy for me that I figured out in 5+ years looking at so many other wholesalers and teaching so many people to make 6 and 7 figures in wholesaling real estate is that when I look at the most successful people and the least successful people, the people that are successful always had goals, and the people that were never successful never had goals. And really, your goals are what you make it. A very interesting statistic on wholesaling real estate: if you look at every single wholesaler this year that got their first deal, 80% of them, 80 out of 100, got their first deal from these very few tiny lists and methods, while only 20% got their first deal from the other type of methods, JVs, on market, and the other types we're going to talk about today. The sad truth is, almost more than half of every single wholesaler out here are going after the 20%, where less than half are going after the 80%. So if you were doing a lottery ticket, right, and the lottery ticket was $10,000, which is basically a wholesaling real estate deal, would you take the lottery ticket that gives you an 80% chance of winning, or the one that gives you a 20% chance of winning? The crazy thing in wholesaling real estate is people are taking the 20% ticket, not the 80% one. So I really want to break down today exactly the truth, the secrets, and the core fundamental principles and frameworks you need to be using to get your first deal in under 2 weeks in wholesaling real estate as a beginner. Before I get into it, do me a big favor and smash that like button and subscribe, and let's break it down. So if you don't know me, my name's Zach Ginn. I'm a 7-figure wholesaler out of South Florida. And ever since I got my first deal at 17 years old, my life's been absolutely changed through wholesaling real estate. And I teach wholesaling real estate absolutely for free. I got nothing to sell you here. All my courses, mentorship, education is all for free. I just want to help you learn wholesaling real estate for free. So when you look at getting your first deal, you got to really look at 2 types of budgets: a time budget and a money budget. How much time do you have to spend to getting your first deal in wholesaling per week? Now, I know most people automatically go to the money budget, how much money I have to spend, but honestly, getting your first deal, it's more about the time you're spending than the money. I could care less. That money is pretty much useless when you're starting out. If I gave you $10,000 to get a deal and you didn't know anything about wholesaling or very little your first week or 2, I would destroy you if you gave me $0 because the knowledge I had in my head. So you got to understand that time, especially starting out, is more valuable than money. And in life, you never know, time is more valuable than money. That's 100% true. But you got to figure out what's your time budget and your money budget. I recommend you want to get your first deal. A big secret: most people who get their first deal in wholesaling real estate spend at least minimum 10 hours a week towards the marketing in wholesaling real estate, non-top their education. So watching this video is part of your education. It's not taking action in wholesaling, unless you're listening to this while you're driving for dollars, but this is part of the education, not part of the actionable step side. If I was looking at it to get my first deal in under 2 weeks, if I had 10 hours, this is what I'd do. I would spend around 2 hours list polling. These are basically pulling government lists. We'll break that down in a few minutes. Spend around 2 hours skip tracing because I'm assuming I have no money. Or if I was buying skip tracing, I would use that extra 2 hours of pulling more lists. You can also drive for dollars for those 2 hours, whatever you want, whatever money you have to spend. I would budget 2 hours for appointments. That's very generous, but I'm assuming maybe got to drive somewhere, right? And then about 4 hours for cold calling. Now, if I have any spare time, I would spend that in list polling and cold calling and follow-ups if you have it. The thing is, you really honestly need 10 to 15 hours a week. That's really all you need to get your first deal in under 2 weeks. The people that are saying, oh, yo, I'm grinding, I'm working 100 hours a week in wholesaling real estate. First off, you're probably gonna get burnt out. Second, you're working harder, not smarter. This is one big thing you have to understand, especially when I started out. Everyone thinks I was working 500 hours a week to get my first deal in under a month. The truth is, I was spending about 5 hours a week in marketing. That was it. I was just sticking bandit signs out in really good locations. I was a high school student taking full-time classes. I was doing high school sports. I was doing all the clubs. I was volunteering. Like, I was doing a lot of stuff, and I was working a full-time bag boy job also on top of that. Like, I didn't have 100 hours to put in this business starting out. I think that's a big fallacy a lot of people have starting out. So let's break down secret number 1 to getting your first deal. Secret number 1 is that niche list is going to be king. Especially starting out in wholesaling real estate, it's going to be very hard to compete with other wholesalers on big fat lists. What do I mean by this? If you're going out here and cold calling the high equity list, which is basically a list of people that have a lot of equity in their home, that means they don't owe a lot of money compared to how much the property's worth. You're probably going to compete with 12 to 15 VAs cold calling that same list. Probably not going to be a good deal. It's not a good way for marketing starting out. But if you go after cold call, SMS text blast, reverse drive for dollars, a certain type of niche list that your competition and other wholesalers around your area aren't doing. So what are these special niche lists that most people in your market aren't doing? I would say less than 5% of wholesalers in your market are pulling this list. And that's very generous. And most of those people are just watching this channel. The cool part about watching this channel is most wholesalers don't watch this channel, which means they don't know about niche lists. They're hearing their local guru who doesn't wholesale anymore that doesn't tell them about these lists. These lists are the probates, which is basically a list of people that passed away, and you're going to reach the people that are set to inherit the house. Code violations, properties with really tall grass that are against code compliance, the arrest record list, water shutoffs, fire damaged properties. These are amazing lists to be going after. And again, if you go to freewholesaling.com, I teach exactly how to pull these lists step by step. I don't have 5 hours to teach it in this video on this. Just go to freewholesaling.com. It'll break it all down easily. Now, when we get the niche lists, we want to skip trace them. I recommend truepeoplesearch.com starting out if you got no money. That's pretty much as good as you can get, unless you want to pay something with like ZachData.com. And I'm telling you right now, if you can add driving for dollars in that list too, you're going to do so much better. That's driving around your neighborhood looking for ugly looking houses. So you might be asking, Zach, what's this 80%, right? Where does 80% of every wholesaler that gets their first deal getting these deals from? It comes from these small strategies: driving for dollars lists and government lists. Those are the two lists that most people get their first deal on. And then you add cold calling on top of that. If you combine all that together, if you talk to someone that got their first deal, most likely over 80%, they got their first deal from any of those strategies. It's crazy that those three tactics right there get most of people's first deals. Where you look at the other 20%, these are people starting out. They don't want to cold call because they're scared to talk to somebody, which is definitely a fear you need to get over to have success in this business. They try SMS text blasting. They try doing Facebook ads. They try doing SEO, PPC. They try cold calling on market properties their first deal. They try JVing. There's nothing wrong with those strategies. You'll get deals from those strategies. But starting out, why are you going to go after something that most people starting out as a beginner are not getting success with? The fastest way to get a real estate wholesaling deal is to drive for dollars and cold call it. Get a government list and cold call if you're doing virtual. So many people have a fear of cold calling, and that's why over half of everyone tries to get rid of the driving for dollars, cold calling, and government lists. And you got to understand with your fear of cold calling, your fear of being broke, your fear of not living the life of your dreams, the fear of not getting that first deal and financially changing your future forever has to be greater than that fear of talking to someone over the phone. What's the worst someone's going to say over the phone? You're a meanie. They're going to say some curse words at you. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think. It took me a very long time to figure this out, but as long as your mom and or your dog think you're cool, that's all that matters in life. If you can get over that fear of cold calling, there's nothing that's going to stop you from getting your first deal, because when you talk to a seller, you already did the cold calling. It's no big deal. It's a walk in the park. One of the greatest basketball players of all time, Kobe Bryant, said it best. When he practices, his goal for practice is to make practice 10 times harder than a real basketball game. So when he actually has to go compete in basketball, it's so easy compared to his grueling practice. And that's the way you got to look at cold calling. You're going through the grueling of cold calling, right? Talking to sellers over and over again. But when it comes to actually talking to a seller, it's a piece of cake talking to somebody because you've cold called so much. So I implore you to go after those strategies at 80% to have success. Don't be going after the ones that are 10 to 20% effective. Go to your 80% lottery ticket. Now let me talk about secret number 2. Secret number 2 basically states the more time you spend in this business increases the percent chance you get a deal in 2 weeks. What do I mean by this? One of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time, Elon Musk, basically states this: the more time you work in something, the increased success it will be. So for example, for wholesaling, the chance you are going to get your first deal within a month under contract is a set percentage. So if you have 10 hours a week for wholesaling real estate, I would put about 50%. If you actually do the drawing for dollars, the cold calling, and the government lists, you probably got a 50% chance of getting a deal within a month. It's a pretty good percentage. If you drive for dollars an extra 2 hours and then cold call that extra 2-hour list, so put 3 hours in the business extra per week for a month straight, that 50% goes up to 60% and just goes on and on. You add the arrest record list, you add all the probates, you start cold calling the water shutoff list, the code violations. You might be going from 10 to 30 hours with those powerful lists to maybe 80 to 90%. Now, it's never going to be 100%. I've gotten a deal every single month at minimum for the past 3.5 years straight because of the amount of marketing that I do. So just understand that the more time equals more conversations with sellers, and the more you talk to sellers, the more percentage that person's going to want to sell their property for a discount. There's millions of people trying to sell their deal. There's so many wholesaling deals being done in your local market that if you just increase the conversations, the time, the marketing, you'll get a deal. And here's my last secret, and this is something you need to think about. This might not go down smooth, but it's the honest truth. Statistically, there's somebody in your local market right now in wholesaling, unless you live in a place where there's only 10 people living in there. If you live in an average USA town county, there's somebody less intelligent than you, most likely younger than you, more broke than you, who has less time than you, who is doing more wholesaling deals than you, living the life of their dreams wholesaling real estate, that got their first deal and probably on their third, fourth, or fifth. You're smarter than this person. You have more money. You have more time than this person, especially versus them starting out, but they're becoming successful and you're not. So you got to understand, what's the difference between that? Why are people less intelligent than you, who have less money, who spend less time in this business doing better? And it really comes down to simple action. The people that get their first couple deals, they keep this business super simple and they just take action. There's a lot of intelligent people that never get their first deal, like really high IQ people, because they do too much analysis paralysis. They analyze the market too much. They're paralyzed by all the analysis they do, and they just never take action. And they complicate this business. They do crazy algorithms of figuring out offers. And maybe someone who's less intelligent like me will just simply drive around and say, you know what, kind of like my first deal, I don't know how much this thing's worth, but let me just get the lowest price I can and just try to bid it up. And they just took simple action and they got their first deal. And eventually they get more and more educated in the business. But the people that just take simple action will do better. You don't have to be this Einstein type person and get your first deal in wholesaling. It's very simple. And if you take the simple action now, you'll thank yourself so much more in the future. I encourage you so much to take simple, actionable steps, consistent action for success. You don't have to be perfect when it comes to your marketing, talking to sellers or anything. You just got to show up. You'll get better. I promise you. You keep cold calling, you'll get better. You're definitely going to suck starting out. I suck starting out. Everyone is terrible starting out. But you just get better and better and better. Don't embrace the grind mindset mentality of working 100 hours a week in wholesaling starting out. You honestly need 10, 20 hours at most. Do the list that no one else is pulling. You will get literally 5x the results than the people working harder than you by just doing the list that no one else is going after. It's allinfreewholesaling.com. You have all the tools for success now. The question is, are you going to take action and change your life right now? The thing is, when I got my first wholesaling deal, I believed in myself. The question is, do you believe in you? And that's honestly the question you have to ask yourself. If you believe you can do this, if you believe you can take the actual steps and make a time budget and a money budget for success and take that action and just go after it, I'm talking like tomorrow, you start marketing. Not next week, not next month, tomorrow. Like you're just taking stupid action, stupid, simple action. You're going to do better than you not marketing. You marketing tomorrow, just taking simple action is going to do so much better than you tomorrow not taking action. You're doing laps around the person that's not doing any action right now. Go out here, take action, change your life, change your financial destiny forever, guys. I don't have to work for the rest of my life. I have enough passive income I made from wholesaling real estate to put into passive income that I don't have to work a job for the rest of my life. I can live life on my terms and I can take care of my family and bless everyone around me. If you feel like that should be you and you deserve it, prove it. Your actions will speak louder than words. I pray for your success and comment below that you're taking action now. Guys, this is Zach Ginn signing out. Please smash that like button and subscribe. Go to freewholesaling.com so you can get educated on the process, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys so much.